Over the past several weeks, we've been looking in the book of Judges. And last week, we looked at who took the honey out of the honeymoon. Well, you guys all know that when the bride is dead, the honeymoon is over. But Samson, being the wonderful individual that he was, he had other issues that was going on in his life because he was disobedient to God. So today we're going to be looking at Judges chapter 16. And in doing that, Samson comes to the point in his life that he realizes that if you allow a woman to get the best of you, it will bring down the house. And that's a true story. So now what happens as we take a look in Judges chapter 16. It says, one day Samson went to Gaza, where he saw a prostitute. He went in to spend the night with her. The people of Gaza were told that Samson was there. So they surrounded the place and lay wait for him all night at the city gate. They made no move during the night, saying, at dawn we will kill him. But Samson took off in the middle of the night. Father, we just thank you, Lord, for what you're doing in our lives. Lord, we ask that you would just bless this word. Lord, help me to deliver your word in the fashion you've given to me. In Jesus' name, amen. First of all, when we take a look at that, remember we said that the woman in the previous chapters that Samson had dealt with were Philistines' women, and it was representing sin in our life. Well, here in the midst of what's going on, Samson goes deep into the heart of enemy territory. And I think the purpose of that was kind of twofold. Number one, he went into the territory to say, I am so powerful, you guys can't do anything to me, and it doesn't really matter. But the reality is that the deeper we go in sin in our lives, the harder it is to walk away. You guys realize that, right? How many of you guys know that the deeper we allow things to come into our life that are away from God, the further we walk away from God? Is that true? So Samson walks into Gaza, and when he does, he sees a prostitute. And he goes in, and it's just a business relationship for him at that point in his life. But how many of us in the world, when we take a look at the world, we can look at it and say, there's something in the world that I desire to have regardless of what it is, right, wrong, or indifferent. And we go in and we know it's wrong, and we still flirt with sin. You guys ever been there? I could say I have. And we go in and we allow ourselves to be subject to those things. And he goes in deep into the territory. Not only is he doing everything that is going against the Nazarite vow, because the Nazarite vow is one of holiness. He does everything total opposite of it, even though he's been called by God. Man, how many of us have kids that are away from God, that they were raised in church? And see, the truth is that there comes a point that we all have to make those decisions. The moral deterioration of what was going on in Samson's own life. See, it started out that he just saw a woman, and he says, I want her to be my wife. And so we can take a look at that. And when we allow the world to come into our life, the world looks good. Sin looks good to us at first glance. It does. As a matter of fact, the Bible says sin is fun for a season. So Samson goes into this moral decay of his life. It wasn't good enough that he just wanted a Philistine woman. Now he's living in a life of sin. He goes in and has relations with the young lady. Totally against what you would expect a man of God to be doing. But see, that represents sin. That represents all those things that are going on in our life. And we have to realize that Samson, remember I told you last week that Samson was on America's Most Wanted. Actually, it would have been, the Philistines' Most Wanted. He was on every news station as the most wanted person in the nation of Philistine. So he goes in and he takes off in the middle of the night and he carries the gates, the city gates, upon his shoulders a far distance away. Whether it's 5 miles, 10 miles, whatever it was, he carries the gates of the city upon his shoulders. He rips them out of the building itself. And what does that do to the city of Gaza? If you don't have gates on your city, are you not subject to attack? When we let down our guard in our life, are we not subject to the attacks of the enemy? And see, he carries them out. And he looks back and he destroys the city, their point of protection. He destroys that. And imagine if he carried the city gate. Now, when I was replacing the gates over here, you know, those are 6 foot wide, and I struggled just to carry them to the other side of the yard. But imagine carrying 2 big city gates up on your shoulders and toss them aside and look out and say, there is the city of Gaza. Ha! I told you once more, it's in my own strength, it's in my own things that I am doing these things, because at this point, Samson's not recognizing that God has favor upon his life. And then we go on and we go into verse 4. It says, sometime later, he fell in love. And this is the first time that it's true love. All the rest of the times that Samson has had these relationships, it was because of the desire of the flesh. But Samson thinks he's in love. And it just so happens to be this woman's name is Delilah. Not Delilah on Easy Rock. I just want you to know that. It's not that Delilah. I like listening to her every once in a while, especially at Christmas time. But he falls in love with this woman in the valley of Sorek. And her name was Delilah. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, see if you can lure him here, showing you the secret of his great strength. Now, you have to realize that if Samson was a big guy, there would be no question where he got his strength from. I told you previously that Samson was a sissy. He had no muscles, he had long hair, he was probably not worth looking at. He was a sissy in all forms. And they said, wait a minute, if you could convince Samson to tell the strength of where he's getting that from, each of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver. Well, there was 5 of them, so the way I do my math, Kathy, you're the teacher, help me out. 1,100 times 5 is 5,500, right? So 5 rulers, 5,500 shekels of silver. Now, let's kind of equate that silver to terms that we could understand. 2,889 ounces. That's a lot of silver, isn't it, Bucky? So at $30 an ounce, that's $90,000. Okay, let's put it in terms, since you guys are saying I don't understand ounces. How about 177 pounds of silver? Is that a lot of silver? So let's put it realistically speaking. They go to her and they say, Delilah, each of us are willing to give you 1 year's salary, cash in advance, no taxes, and it's tax-free, and you're just going to have this lump sum of money that if you will betray Samson, he's in love with you, and you can convince him to do everything. Isn't that the way sin does to us in our life? It comes in, it looks good, and we think that we're in love. And we give ourselves into these things that are going on. And we sell ourselves out. So imagine if you made $30,000 a year and 5 years salary. 30 times 5 is how much? Thank you. So $150,000. How many of you guys would sell your best friend out for $150,000 bucks? How many of you guys would sell your boyfriend or your girlfriend out for $150,000? How many of you guys would sell your wife or your husband out for $150,000? My wife says, you better keep your hands down because you're not selling me out for anything. I've worked too hard to, get you raised to where you need to be. But for $90,000 in silver at $30 an ounce, what's silver right now, Bucky? About 15, maybe 20 bucks? 14? Okay, so you do the math. That's still a lot of money. But silver fluctuates, doesn't it? Goes up and down. So imagine that you had this large sum of money, and you sell out your best friend for 5 years' wages, cash up front. A lot of money, right? Ready? Would you sell your wife out for 5 years? See, I didn't think you would. And there's not a guy that is in here that would do that to his wife. How many of you wives would sell your husbands out for a 5-year salary? Some of you say, maybe I should, But here's the thing. He goes into this woman by the name of Delilah. He moves in with her. He starts shacking up with her because he's taken residence in her home. And in doing this, Delilah, the deception of love. The deception of love. And so Delilah said to Samson, tell me your secret of your great strength and how you can be tied up and subdued. Guys, there's something wrong with that question in itself. If somebody asks me that question, I'm going to take and I'm going to run the other way. But if we take a look at it and say, man, sin comes into us, what are you willing to give up for this? And sin does that to us. You can put whatever label on sin it is, but that's exactly what sin does. It comes into our lives, and it looks good. Now, there's nothing more than I like. My wife doesn't let me do it anymore because I fall asleep on her. But when we were freshly married, I liked to lay in her lap and she would run her fingers through my hair and tell me that she loved me. And next thing you know, I'm out like a baby. And so that's exactly what Delilah's doing to Samson. Oh, Samson, you're so wonderful. You're so strong. Tell me where you get your strength from so I can tie you up and have you killed. There's something wrong with that statement. But Samson thinks he's in love. He has this deceptive love that has come over him because he's enticed by the world. He's enticed by the things that are holding him. He comes in and he says, well, it's kind of like this. Samson answered, if anyone ties me up with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, I will become weak as any other man. Then the rulers of the Philistines brought her 7 fresh bowstrings. They had not been dried. She tied him up with them. And then she says, Samson, the Philistines are here to come and kill you. They were hiding in her house. How many of you guys think there's a problem with that? But don't we do that with our own lives? See, we entertain sin to the point that we say, it's okay, and we'll allow it to come into our life. And we say, oh, it's fine that, this is that. The Bible doesn't specifically say, thou shalt not do this. Show me in the Bible where it says that. And we get into those gray areas in our life. And those gray areas come in and they start indwelling in us. And all of a sudden we become so enticed by those gray areas that we get into other things. And Samson, see, you have to realize that Samson thought that nobody would be able to defeat him. So as soon as she ties him up, now first of all, it blows me away. Maybe I'm just dumb. And my son would say, yeah, you are, Dad, but no. Here's the thing. Guys, how many of you could sleep through somebody tying you up? Braiding your hair? Doing all those things? How many of you guys could sleep through that? Not I. And all of a sudden, she says, Samson, Samson, they're after you. And Samson gets up out of his sleep. And all of a sudden, he says, oh, well, hey, you guys come back some other time. But see, the truth is that whenever you and I entertain sin in our life, it becomes more predominant, and it's easier to get into those things. It's easier to get into the desires of the flesh. And the deception continues. I would have hightailed it out of there myself after the first time. Man, if my wife had tried to kill me, there's not a chance that I'm sticking around for the second, third, or fourth time. No way. Then Delilah said to Samson, "You made a fool of me." She starts to cry. "Come now and tell me how you can be tied." Running her fingers through his hair the whole time. Deceptive love. You guys see what I'm saying? Does sin get into our life? Does it do that to us? Are we enticed by the things of the world? It looks so good at the first glance. Oh, hey, look at that. I can go in, nobody's going to know. It's just business. And we become caught into these lines. And he said to her the second time, in verse 11, "If anyone ties me securely with new ropes that have never been used, I'll become as weak as any other man." And I'm sure that there was a period of time that had passed. Because if she did that to me exactly the next day, I would have said, "Woman, what are you trying to do to me? Are you trying to kill me?" Yeah, I am. How many of you guys would stick around in that situation? See, not one of us would say we do, but how many of us entertain sin in our life? And we allow sin to come in, and that's exactly what it's doing. It's destroying us. So again, the Philistines hide out in her bedroom. Either it must have been a big bedroom, or else Samson is totally stupid because he doesn't see what's going on. I was thinking of that commercial. I can't even think of what it is. It's some commercial where somebody's hiding behind the curtain. She's like a curtain or whatever it is. What commercial is that? Oh, there you are. I see you over there. I see you over there. And these people come out of the room. Man, I would be looking for things in that room. If something's not right, if the curtain has legs, there's probably something wrong with that curtain. Going around. But yet he gives in to her again. She strokes his hair again, rubs his back, pats his head, and makes him go to sleep. And she ties him up. And she says, "Samson, Samson, they're here to get you again." And Samson all of a sudden breaks the new ropes just as they were twined. He falls into this deceptive love, into self-destruction. Man, Delilah is evil. I don't know about you. That's 2 times. I wouldn't be around the 3rd time. Again, she says, "Oh, Samson, you're the best." Bats her eyes at him. You guys are saying, where does it say that in there? Well, I'm reading it between the lines because somehow she seduced him. She made it look good, and that's exactly what sin does to you and I. It comes in and seduces us where it seems like it's all right. The 3rd time, "Oh, Samson, you must not really love me." Now remember that he was married. Well, he never finished the marriage ceremony because his wife was given to somebody else. He's still, technically speaking, married. So technically speaking, isn't he really committing adultery? So he's in this relationship, doing everything that he's not supposed to be doing. And then Samson goes back to Delilah. "Oh, Delilah, you're so beautiful. Oh, Delilah, you deceived me once, you deceived me twice. Can you deceive me thrice?" And so Delilah strokes his hair again, getting a little closer to the truth of where his strength comes from. And Samson says, "Well, if you will weave my hair into the loom." Wait a minute. strength. And in verse 13, Delilah then said to Samson, all these times you've been making me a fool and lying to me. Tell me how you can be tied. He replied, if you weave 7 braids of my head into the fabric of the loom and tighten it with a pin, I'll become as weak as any other man. So while he was sleeping, Delilah took the 7 braids from his head, wove them into the fabric, and tightened them with a pin. See, each time, Samson's getting a little closer to the source of his strength. Because he feels nothing can happen to me. This sin that I'm involved in is not going to destroy my life. And for him to go through and sleep through that, man, she must have drugged him. Or she was completely stupid to believe that that would do that. How many of you guys would loom your husband's hair, weave your husband's hair into a loom and think that that's, first of all, it's going to hurt. To braid his hair and then weave it into a loom? Come on. But see, I think Delilah was just as stupid, and maybe I shouldn't say that because it's not nice to say that, but they're not very bright people. And she weaves it into the loom. And as Samson sleeps, oh, Samson, the Philistines are here. And again, he shakes all that stuff off. And some time passes. And she's thinking about the $90,000 that she's just collected. Ka-ching, ka-ching, I'm rich. She goes back to Samson the 4th time. She says, oh, Samson, you've lied to me once, you've lied to me twice, you've lied to me 3 times. And she forgets to put in the part, I've tried to kill you 3 times as well. But Samson, will you please tell me where your strength comes from? He's frustrated. And he comes by and he says, if you'll shave my hair, I will become like any other man. And so he got down to where the strength came from. Remember, it wasn't in his hair, it was because of the Nazarite vow that his parents had made for him, that he would stay holy. But now he's so far into this lifestyle of sin. She says, Samson's told me the truth this time. The Philistines are there. She shaves his head. Even if it's just cutting his locks off, I don't see how you can sleep with that. The only time I was that dead was after working 14 to 16 hours on the aircraft carrier on a flight deck, and you'd come down and you'd get in your rack. And the only thing that would wake you up on that ship was the sound of general quarters, all hands man your battle stations. Or man overboard. Everything else you're oblivious to. But if somebody's playing with my hair, I'm going to wake up. Especially if they're trying to shave my hair. Shave it all off. I'm going to wake up. He's now being humiliated. He's now lost all of his dignity. And what happens when we allow sin to come into our life? Doesn't it destroy us completely? Doesn't it get rid of our dignity? Doesn't it get rid of the things that we have going for us? Self-respect. All those things. And see, Samson thought he was strong enough to take care of the problem himself without ever calling on the name of the Lord. The deeper we go into sin in our life, the harder it is to come back. It says in verse 17, so he told her everything. No razor has ever been used on my head, he said to her, because I have been a Nazarite. Oh, wait a minute, you're doing a good example of that. You're doing everything that goes against that Nazarite vow. You're playing with dead animals, you're messing with sin. You're doing things that you're not supposed to be doing. He says, I've been dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man. When Delilah saw that he had told her everything, she went to the rulers of the Philistines. Come back once more. He has told me everything. And then you skip down to verse 20. Then she called to Samson, the Philistines are upon you. I don't know about you, but if somebody is trying to attack me, I'm going to know it before somebody tells me. When I was in school in Memphis, Tennessee, or actually Millington, as we were in tech school, we didn't have a choice of who our roommates were. They just kind of put people in your room, you know, because it was the military. And I had this guy that had come in one night. He had been drinking. And it was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And he thought it'd be really cool to come in and jump on me and try to attack me. And him and his buddies throw me in the shower. But one of his friends from another room, both those guys ended up with bruises the next morning. They couldn't figure out where they came from. I went back to sleep. They never got me in the shower. All I'm saying is when somebody comes on me, I'm going to know it. I don't need somebody to tell me that I'm under attack. But see, the truth is that sin does that to you and I. It comes into our life. And we've accepted it. We've been disillusioned by the love of whatever it was that was going on in our life. The Philistine sees him, and in verse 21, gouged out his eyes and took him down to Gaza, binding him with bronze shackles. See, the truth is that you and I can be set free because of the lifestyle that we've lived. He's forced to grind grain for him in prison. But the hairs on his head began to grow back. Samson was a complete failure. Everything he did up to this point was going against God. Everything Samson did in his life totally went against everything he was raised. They gouged out his eyes. He was forced as a slave, being humiliated, disrespected. His honor, his self-respect, all gone. His strength. The sin did that to you and I. The sin destroyed us. The sin destroyed me. Let me put it back on me. If I'm living in sin, it's eventually going to destroy my life. Regardless of what sin it is. Sin is anything that we do that displeases God. Simple, right? We don't have to have all these long definitions of what sin is. Sin is anything that Dave Jolliffe does that displeases God. Put your own name in there. So Samson's there. Lost everything. He's at the lowest point in his life. And I'm sure he's thinking, my God, why have you forsaken me? But see, here's the really cool thing. The Philistines, they had this god called Dagon. And in doing that, they said, you know, we're going to have a celebration. And Dagon, the god, had the body of a fish and the head of a man. They said, we're going to bring in all of our war prisoners, those that we've captured, and we're going to celebrate to Dagon, this god. And we're going to make fun of those people that we've taken as slaves. We're going to humiliate them. So let's plan this festival for what the occasion is. We're going to call all the high-ranking military officials. Everybody, so it'd be kind of like saying, okay, everybody at the Pentagon today, bring your spouses with you and watch us make fun of this guy that we captured. The one that had tormented us. The one that had done that had killed 30 Philistines for the wedding. The one that destroyed their income when he tied the foxes together. The one that had beat 1,000 Philistines with the jawbone of a donkey. So they advertised it. They put it on their local TV. Come out and watch us humiliate Samson, the mighty warrior, the one that carried the gates, leaving our city exposed. And they put him in the temple to make fun of him, to humiliate him. Samson being blind. Really, the Philistines were throwing this big party. And in verse 23, it says, Now the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their god, small g, and to celebrate, saying, Our God, again, small g, has delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands. When the people saw him, they praised their God, again, small g, saying, Our God has delivered our enemy into our hands. The one who has laid waste to our land and multiplied our slain. And it says why they were in high spirits. Why they were in high spirits. They were having a party. They brought Samson in. Samson finally came to his senses. It says Samson cried to God and asked for forgiveness. The young boy took him in, and Samson says, I want to be able to feel this being and that being the whole support structures for the whole building. Not knowing what Samson was doing, the young man took Samson to those beings. And Samson cried out to God. He says, God, forgive me for the life I've lived. God, I know that you had called me to begin to deliver the nation of Israel from the Philistines' hand. God, I'm willing to give up my life this day for my sins. But God, I ask that you would allow me to take out as many with me as I can. And it says 3,000 men and women were on the balconies that day. And Samson, after he had prayed that prayer, his strength returned. Let me rephrase that. God's Spirit came back upon Samson. It doesn't matter where we start the race in our life. It matters where we finish it. And see, then we go to the book of Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 11, verses 32 through 34. And Samson is mentioned in those that have great faith. And what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell you about Gideon. Remember Gideon, we looked at him already. He was a chicken. Barak, Samson. Oh wait, right there's Samson. Jephthah and David and Samuel and the prophets, who through their faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised, who shut the mouths of the lions, quenched the fury of the flames, and escaped the edge of the sword. And then it says, whose weakness was turned to strength, and he became powerful in battle and routed armies. And see, the truth is that whenever you and I will allow sin to come into our life that is unchecked, it will destroy us. And it destroys not only us, it destroys other people around us. We can say, what are our weaknesses today? Samson, his weakest point was lust. What about insecurities? What about fear? What about greed or gossip, pride, drugs, alcohol? See, we might be dealing with those things, but we have a God that is able to deliver us today. And God has power before sin. And when we take a look at that, it doesn't matter what we've done in our life as long as we make it right with God. I'm not saying that I'm going to promote a lifestyle of going out and sinning. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, regardless of how far we've gotten away from God, how far our kids have gotten away from God, our loved ones, there's still hope. We keep praying for them. They might be a Samson. They might be away from God temporarily. Moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, uncles, aunts, don't ever give up on your kids. If you have unsaved loved ones, as we close with prayer, how many of you guys have unsaved loved ones that would stand and say, my kids need prayer? Just stand, and we're going to close in prayer as you stand, as we pray for your unsaved loved ones. Because I believe that God still can deliver of what's going on. Father, we thank you, Lord, that we can come to you. Lord, that we might have a Samson in our life. Lord, some of us might even have a Delilah. But God, you see all these, my family, Lord, my church. Lord, that we have unsaved loved ones. Lord, we ask that you would give them that opportunity, Lord, to come back to you before it's too late. But God, for the things that are in our life, Lord, we say, God, I'm sorry for the things that are in my own life. Lord, draw me closer to you. Lord, I pray that you would draw each and every one of us closer to you. And God, that we would know that you are able to deliver us. And Father, we just thank you for that. In the name of Jesus. Amen.